Family, thank you all for joining us tonight for another interesting topic about relationships, love, and family. So, tonight's topic is how perceptions make or break your love life. Let's
Mhm.
begin.
Yeah. So this is important because I think understanding perceptions and their impact is a very valuable skill in terms of, well, really for anyone who wants to succeed not only in life, but especially when it comes to their love life. So, digging into what we mean by perception,
Yep.
right?
And perception is the process of organizing and interpreting sensory information in order to understand the surrounding environment.
Yeah.
Perception is essential for our survival and well being. So it allows us to navigate our environment, avoid danger, and interact with others. So it is also allows us to appreciate the beauty of the world around us.
Yeah. Just to clarify for definitions. But in most important, perception is a complex process and it really involves two different layers. One is the bottom up and the top down processing. So, what do we mean by that? Bottom up processing is the process of building from the individual sensory inputs to create a whole precept, right? So, for example, when you see a cup, your eyes detect the light and the waves of the different colors and the shapes. Then your brain combines these inputs that you are receiving and creates a precept of a cup. This is bottom up processing. So, hope that's pretty much clear. Top down processing is the process of using our existing knowledge and expectations to influence how we interpret sensory information. So, for example, if you are expecting to see that cup I was just talking about, then you are more likely to interpret sensory information in a way that is consistent with that expectation. Kind of a little deep and probably what people don't really think of so much when it comes to love or life in general. But this is, again, a very complex topic, but it's very important in understanding how perception really does shape the success or unsuccess of your life. Now, perception is not a passive process at all.
And we actively construct our perceptions of the world based on our sensory inputs, our knowledge, and our expectations. I want to throw in experiences as well.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
for
this
sure.
is why different people can have different perceptions of the same event.
Hmm. And in particular, when it applies to relationships, our perception of others is more about ourself than it is the other person. This is huge when it comes to forming any type of relationship. This is mainly because we project our own thoughts, our feelings, and our beliefs onto others. Everyone does that. It's something that's just, it's natural. We also tend to see a world in a way that is consistent with our worldview. So, for example, if we were bullied in school, we may be more likely to perceive others as threatening. Or if we had a difficult relationship with our parents, then we may be more likely to perceive others as rejecting. This is huge.
Or if we are feeling insecure about our own intelligence, we may be more likely to perceive others as being smarter than us.
Mhm.
So, or if we are also feeling angry, we may be more likely to perceive others as being hostile.
Mhm.
So, there are many ways people latch on or form negative perceptions about the opposite gender and relationships. This is the
Yeah.
key part. So
Mhm.
people may form negative perceptions about the opposite gender or relationships based on their own personal experiences. For example, if someone was cheated on in the past, they may come to believe that all members of the opposite gender are untrustworthy, useless, no good, etc., etc.
Yeah.
So the media plays a big role in shaping people's perceptions about the opposite gender or relationships. So,
Mhm.
for example, if people are constantly bombarded with images of men and women being portrayed in negative ways, they may become, they may believe that these are accurate representations of opposite genders. All men cheat, all women cheat, all women are alpha females and like to be overbearing and nag men to death, etc.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
cultural stereotypes can also contribute to negative perceptions about the opposite gender or relationships. So for example, if a culture teaches that men are only good for their money, their resources, and being providers, and women are only good for cooking and cleaning, providing services,
Or their
people,
body.
yep, or their body, people may come to believe that relationships are purely transactional.
Yeah. Yeah.
People's peers can also influence their perceptions about the opposite gender or relationships. So, for example, if someone's friends are all complaining about their partners, they may start to believe that all relationships are doomed to fail and may not want to initiate any relationships of any kind.
Yeah.
So, misinformation about the opposite gender or relationships can also lead to negative perceptions.
Hmm.
So, for example, if someone believes that men are only interested in sex or that women are only interested in money, they may be less likely to form positive relationships with members of the opposite gender.
Yeah. All of this is super big, and it really shows how our perceptions are being shaped in all types of ways every single day, and how important it is to make sure that if we come across negative perceptions, we're not just taking it in, latching onto them and believing, oh, this is fact or true, but taking it for face value, receiving the information, and then allowing yourself to come up with your own beliefs that you want to hold. So then that way you're actually able to create better results in your life. Because if, like you were saying, if you're constantly hearing all these negative things and then you latch on to these negative perceptions that are often based on stereotypes or generalization, then you're less likely to be able to form good, solid relationships because your beliefs are going to harbor all these, negative stereotypes and generalizations. This is so big, especially within like the social media and YouTube and community, the whole, information overload that we receive through our phones,
Mhm.
and being able to decipher and hold on and figure out like, hey, is this a perception that I actually want to hold on to and allow that to create and shape my beliefs, or am I looking to actually hold on to a different perception?
Yep. And holding on to negative perceptions, like, for example, there are no good men or no good women, can have a significant impact on one's experiences with love and dating.
Yeah.
So when people believe that everyone is untrustworthy or has bad intentions, it can be difficult for them to open up and form meaningful connections with others.
Yeah.
So this can lead to feelings of loneliness and isolation, and it can also make difficulties in finding romantic spouses.
Yeah. This is, I think, important to just to, this may be triggering because I'm sure when you come across certain things, and especially if you had your own personal experiences, it can be really easy to say like, oh, this means that what I experience is true and valid for everyone or all things because I've experienced it, this person's experienced it, and the next person's experiencing it. But in reality, it's not always true and valid. And a lot of the times, your mind is just looking for ways to come and validate the thoughts or perceptions that you're holding within your mind.
Mhm.
So, like when it comes to the whole aspect of there are no good men or women, it's very common within this age to hear people say, "Oh, I'm not going to put myself out there and date." And they're afraid of getting hurt or rejected, or, they simply may believe it's not even worth the effort of getting into a relationship or trying to form a meaningful relationship or even trying to date in general, just because they're holding on to that perception that, oh, there's no good men or no good women. Your mind is going to validate that and give you and your experience exactly what you come to perceive.
Yep. And when people hold on to negative perceptions and focus on everyone's flaws, they may be more critical of potential partners.
Yeah.
So they may be looking for perfection, and they may be quick to dismiss someone or actively look for and label everything as a red flag. So
Mm-hmm.
this can make it difficult to find someone who meets your standards, and it can also lead to unhealthy relationships as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so negative perceptions can cause people to be more guarded and less trusting. If people believe that everyone is untrustworthy, they may be reluctant to share personal information or let their guards down. So this can make it difficult to build intimacy and connections.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And also, if people hold on to the negative perception that all relationships are doomed to fail. Oh my guys, how often do we hear that? It's going to end in divorce anyway. Believe it or not, that negative perception, you're more likely to sabotage your own relationship just because you're holding on to that negative perception. You may start to pick fights, you may start to push your spouse away, or engage in other behaviors that are going to make it very difficult for the relationship to succeed. And it's all because of that negative perception that you heard from somewhere else or got from somewhere else that, hey, relationships are doomed to fail. This is super important because it's so prominent now more than ever. And when I think back and I, listen to other conversations and I'm just observing what's going on, I'm really seeing how people, it's not the other people in the world per se that are causing people not to have relationships, but in fact it's
You
yourself.
yourself.
It's your own self, the person who's holding a negative perception about whatever it is, and your mind is going to look and validate that in some sort of way and bring it into your experience in some sort of way. It's true. It really is a frequency. It really is a vibrational thing. And if you hold on to something that is negative, you're going to get that right on back, no matter where it's coming from, no matter what you experience. Like, it's going to manifest in your life. So let's get into what this could look like, because this is important to pay attention to, especially, well, from a woman's perspective. When I grew up, my perspective on men was completely opposite than a lot of the women that I grew up around, other girls that I grew up around. And as a result, my life turned out completely different than the other girls that I look at now. And I think back and I'm like, dang, I can really see how their perceptions of men shaped their whole reality and ultimately their lives in the long run. So, for example, a negative perception. If a woman believes that all men are untrustworthy or that they are only interested in sex, this perception may lead her to avoid dating men altogether, or to be suspicious or guarded when she does date, making it really unlikely for her to be able to find a good man who is not going to be that way. On the opposite end, if a woman believes that men are trustworthy and capable of forming deep and meaningful connections, that perception is more likely to make her open to dating men and to forming trusting and intimate relationships with them. That's a big one.
Yeah. So what you're doing is you're increasing your probability and your chances of finding someone for a long-term committed relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Your mindset has a lot to do with that. Like my wife is saying, it creates the starting point, and then also too, it creates the end point, depending on how you perceive the relationship from the beginning until the end.
Or the opposite gender in general,
Right.
Yeah.
Negative perception. So a man believes that relationships are difficult and doomed to fail. This perception may lead him to avoid relationships altogether or to sabotage his relationships when he does enter into them.
Yeah.
A positive perception. A man believes that relationships can be challenging, but they are also rewarding and fulfilling. This perception may make them feel more willing to put in the effort to maintain a relationship and to work through challenges when they arise.
Mm-hmm. Negative versus the positive. Another one, let's bring it to the couples, right? So a couple that believes that relationships are only about sacrifice. This may lead them to really feel resentful or frustrated with each other whenever they have to compromise or make sacrifices. On the other hand, if a couple believes that relationships are about giving and receiving love, support, and companionship, this perception allows them to focus on the positive aspects of their relationship and to appreciate each other more. So, something simple like a perception.
Yeah. And negative perception. So a couple believes that relationships are based on power and control. So this perception may lead them to engage in unhealthy power dynamics, such as manipulation or coercion.
Mm-hmm.
So positive perception. A couple believes that relationships are based on being fair, having respect, and mutual love. This perception may help them to build a healthy and supportive relationship.
Yep.
So these are just some examples. So there are many other ways in which negative and positive perceptions of the opposite gender and relationships can manifest in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
So please take note that it is important to have positive perceptions about relationships because these perceptions shape our experiences in our relationships. When we believe that relationships are good for us and that they can make our lives better, we are more likely to invest in our relationships and to nurture them. When we see the good in others and in our relationships, we are more likely to experience love, happiness, and well being.
Mm-hmm.
Positive perceptions of others and relationships can benefit our relationships and our lives both directly and indirectly.
Yeah, for sure. So, for example, when we have positive perceptions about our spouses, we are more likely to trust them, right? And open up to them emotionally. This will certainly lead to a deeper and more meaningful relationship because trust is ultimately essential when it comes to developing intimacy in general. And when we feel safe and supported by our spouses, we are also more likely to share our deepest thoughts and feelings with them. All of this directly leads to a more connected relationship. Now, we already talked about the negative, but you can clearly see how if you feel like, you know, men aren't trustworthy or women aren't trustworthy, then you're less likely to do the things that are going to lead to developing intimacy in a deeper and more profound way.
And when we have positive perceptions of relationships and our spouse, we are more likely to interact with our partners in a positive way.
Mm-hmm.
So this can create a positive feedback loop that strengthens the relationship. When we
Yeah.
have positive expectations of our spouse, we are more likely to treat them with kindness and respect.
Yeah.
So this can lead to more positive interactions and more loving and supportive relationship.
Yeah, yeah. This is really, really important. Really, really important. But I do want to pause right here and thank everybody for tuning in as
Yep.
we talk about something that we kind of always talk about, but it's very important to be able to present this hopefully in another way so that it clicks and so that people understand. Although we are bombarded with so much negative perceptions about relationships and about families or and about just the opposite gender in general, it is super important that we learn how to understand in particular our perceptions matter, and we have to hold positive perceptions if we want to have those positive experiences in our lives.
Yep. And then also too, yeah, I wanted to point out too, thank you for all the thumbs up we got so far on our YouTube channels, and Instagram followers as well. We really appreciate you all. If you all can like and share and subscribe on our YouTube channel, we really appreciate it. And our YouTube followers, the same thing for our Instagram. So if you can
Yeah.
go there, like, share, and subscribe, we really appreciate it. Crossover platforms, gotta love it. So, when we have positive perceptions about relationships, we are more likely to be willing to compromise and work through conflict in a constructive way.
Yeah.
So, this is because we believe that our relationship is worth fighting for. We are
Mm-hmm.
also more likely to see our spouse as allies rather than adversaries.
Yeah.
This can help to prevent conflict from escalating and damaging the relationship. This can lead to more effective conflict resolution and a stronger relationship overall.
Yeah, and in particular, if you don't, and you think that all relationships are doomed to fail, and you hold that negative perception, you're more likely to jump ship as soon as you have a problem or as soon as something goes wrong because you just automatically have chalked it up to, oh, all relationships are doomed to fail, all marriages end in divorce. When that is not true, please do not have these negative perceptions just cloud your judgment, make your eyes blurry, and you can't really see the beauty that comes from having relationships. And yes, the beauty in people. This world is not full of bad men and bad women. I genuinely see good men and good women every single day. So trust me, it is not all what some people try to make it out to be.
And when we have positive perceptions about relationships, we are more likely to be satisfied with the one that we I'm sorry, the relationship and commitment to making it work. So
Yeah.
this is because we see the value in the relationship and that we are willing to put in the effort to maintain it. And commitment is essential for any relationship to thrive. When both partners are committed to making the relationship work, it is more likely to withstand challenges and last over time.
Yeah. So, how do we get rid of these negative perceptions and actually hold positive perceptions? 'Cause that's what's the most important thing, right? First off, it's always important to be aware of our own biases, right? And our projections so that then we can have a more accurate understanding of people and the world around us. So it's super important that we pay attention to our thoughts and our feelings, especially when we're interacting with others. So, for example, try to be aware of your own thoughts, your own feelings, what comes to your mind. Are you feeling insecure? Are you feeling angry? Are you feeling threatened when you're interacting with someone? This will really let you know that, hey, what could be influencing my perception in this moment in time.
Yep, and challenge your assumptions. So ask yourself if your assumptions about the other person are based on evidence
Yeah.
or if they are simply projections of your own thoughts and feelings.
Yeah.
Be open to feedback. So if someone tells you that you are perceiving them in a way that is inaccurate, be open to their feedback.
Yeah.
Try to see the situation from their perspective.
Yeah, yeah. Don't just judge everybody, generalize or assume that everybody is all the same and just be, like you had mentioned earlier, constantly pointing or looking for those
The
red
fault.
flags.
Yeah.
Yeah, and those faults, because that's really a way how you're just clouding your judgment and it's really influencing your perception of the other person. And it's genuinely not fair. Really, especially if you're trying to even build a relationship. You could have somebody appear right in front of you who could actually really be good for you, but one little hint of them, being very similar to someone else that you experience, and you may throw the whole person away.
Throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah, don't do that,
Yep.
guys. We really gotta learn to see other people from where they're at and really be open
Right.
to the whole
And,
experience.
and we're not telling you to be a fool either.
Yeah,
When
no,
you see
not at all.
evidence and signs of someone not treating you right, being abusive
Right.
towards you, then that's a time and a moment to get a situation where you are communicating to address those issues
Right. Or
as well.
yeah, or it's very valid to leave
Right.
too. Yeah, certainly very valid.
To a certain extent,
Mhm.
depending on what the situation is.
Yeah, for sure. Good
Yep.
point.
So focus on the positive. So when we are interacting with someone, try to focus on their positive qualities. So what do you like about them? What do you admire about them?
Yeah, sometimes it's so easy to just, like we said, pick out those faults, but instead try to tune your mind to really see, like, what's something that I could like about this person? What's something that, I could really get to know, make or want to get to know more about them versus trying to focus on the negative. So, yeah.
Yeah. And be open-minded. Don't have rigid ideas about how people should be. Be open to getting to know people who are different from you.
Yeah, especially when dating.
Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
give people the benefit of the doubt. If someone does something that upsets you, try to see things from their perspective. Why might they have acted the way they did?
Yeah, especially your spouse. I think this is really big for couples. So please give your spouse the benefit of the doubt. Don't be so quick to just, if they upset you, you just want to beat them down or blame them or something like that. Try to take a step back and instead of quickly, going to the negative about them, try to think, I wonder why they did that, or ask, like, why'd you do that? That kind of upset me or whatever, especially if someone hurts you, and especially in a relationship or a marriage. Try to forgive them and look to be able to move on from it, because we talked about this last night. Holding on to anger and resentment will only damage your own well-being and your relationship, certainly with the other person. So if you can really get into the habit of, if someone, especially your spouse, talking definitely to the married people here, if your spouse hurts you, try to be open to seeing them in a higher light, understanding what's going on, and then detaching yourself from the anger, from the resentment. This is going to take some time, but you could really get into the ability to just, say, hey, this anger is not mine for this moment in time. I'm not going to hold on to it, especially when I love my spouse. And although they have done something that may have made me upset, I'm not going to, try to retaliate or beat them down or hold on to it, because it's in the end, it's really just hurt yourself too.
Yep. Make a habit of expressing gratitude for the positive people in your life.
Yeah.
So this can help you to appreciate them more, and to focus on the good things in your relationship.
Yeah.
It is also important to remember that everyone is imperfect.
Yeah.
We all make mistakes, and we all have flaws. So, however, when we focus on the positive qualities of others, we can build stronger and more fulfilling relationships.
Yeah, I one thing that kind of pops up in my head sometimes when I hear people, they judge people off of different things, or like their past, or other things. Certainly, you can use it as a record of, hey, this person has done this. Maybe I should be a little mindful that especially if this is a habit. But in particular, if you can be open to just seeing a person, especially if it's your spouse, especially when it comes to those hard situations, like maybe even like cheating or something in that matter. If they're really actively trying to show you that they're going to be different, their actions are lining up, they're showing you that, hey, I'm trying to be different, I'm acting different, I'm doing all the things I need to do to try to build your trust. This is really important for you then to hold them in your mind, at least in a higher light. So then that way you're projecting good onto them and not the bad. And you're also not kind of like clouding your judgment. I think of, what is it? Yahushua, Jesus, and so some people call, had was in love with, what's her name? Was it Mary? Who was a prostitute? Was it Mary Magdalene? I
Hmm.
think of the story of that. Yeah, and then often too, when people would come into, when you think of like Buddha and all the higher, ascended masters, I like to say, in particular, their strong point, or what helped other people to heal when in their presence, or to be better when in their presence, was the simple aspect of not seeing them for their flaws, for their sickness, for their imperfection, but actually choosing to see them for their good, choosing to see them for being a better person, choosing to see them for changing. That really makes a world of a difference in how that person shows up in your reality, because you're not choosing to perceive them as negative. You're not choosing to perceive them in that bad way. You're choosing to see the good in them so they can show up for you in your reality as a good person. And that can only happen if you choose that for yourself. Yeah.
And ultimately, positive perceptions of relationships can have a ripple effect that benefits both individuals and society as a whole.
Yeah.
So when we focus on the good in others and our relationships, we create a more loving and supportive world for everyone.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
remember, numerous studies have shown that people in strong relationships tend to be happier and healthier than those who are not. So this is likely due to the many benefits of social support, such as reduced stress, improved immune functions, and lower risk of heart disease and stroke.
Yeah, positive perceptions of relationships. They really do have positive impacts. These are just some of the indirect positive impacts that have come from just holding a positive perception on relationships.
Yeah. And so people in strong relationships are better able to cope with stress and adversary or
Hmm.
adversity rather. So
Yeah.
this is because they have a support system of people who care about them and who can help them through difficult times. So when we have strong relationships, we are more likely to have a positive outlook on life and to feel confident in our ability to handle whatever challenges come our way.
Yeah, and relationships make us better people, right? Like, you look at the people who choose to be in strong relationships, they really do feel a sense of purpose and meaning in their lives. This is why God says it's not good for us to be alone. It really has more to do about us than it has maybe just being with a spouse or a partner or anything else, because you really do become a better person when you choose to be in a relationship. And also too, being in a relationship really helps people to feel connected to others. They feel like they're a part of something that's larger than themselves. And, it helps people to be a little less selfish. I think a lot of our world is missing good, strong relationships. And that's why, a lot of people are really selfish, because they don't know how to be a little selfless when it comes to other people and other stuff.
That's true.
Yeah.
Holding positive perceptions of relationship can impact our relationships in other areas of life as well.
Yeah.
So, for example, they can lead to better academic and professional performance. Studies have shown that students who have strong social support networks are more
Yeah.
likely to succeed in school. Similarly, employees who have strong relationships with their colleagues are more likely to be productive and successful in their jobs and careers. So, this
Hmm.
is likely because positive relationships can help us to stay motivated, focused, and engaged.
Yeah. And when you choose to hold these positive perceptions about relationships, it ultimately leads to stronger communities. Of course, people who are in positive relationships have positive perceptions of others and people. They are more critically involved and civically engaged in the community. They're more likely to volunteer, to give their time to help others. They're also more likely to be tolerant and accepting of people and all people from different backgrounds. So this can help create a stronger community and help us to be more cohesive all together. It's really a good thing.
And choosing to hold on to positive perceptions of relationships and people is not always easy. Sorry. There will be times when you are exposed to negative messages from media, your peers, or even your own personal experiences, etc.
Mhm.
However, it is important to remember that these negative messages are not always accurate or represent your reality.
Yeah, and they certainly don't have to.
Right.
So whenever you find yourself, feeling negative about relationships or people, try to take a step back and remind yourself of the good things that are in this world. Think about the people who love you. Think about the people who support you. Think about the positive relationships that you have had in the past or in your life right now. All of this is going to really help you to be able to shape your experience in your reality and that moment, and also attract to you and bring to you, for people that love the idea of the law of attraction, that helps that bring that more so into your reality. It's really about frequency and aligning yourself to what you want to experience. If you want to experience more uplifting, positive things, align yourself with perceptions that are going to bring that into your reality. Think about all the good things that people are doing in this world. There are good things that people are doing in this world. We focus on, the other things, like the things we see on the news, we're more likely to walk away from that experience like, dang, you know, it's tough out here, when, that's not reality. So that's important to keep in mind.
Yep. And the world is not a perfect place, but it
Yeah,
is a good place.
it is.
And the people in it are good people.
You are.
Yep. So choose to see the good in the world and in the people around you. It is
Yeah.
a choice that will make your life richer and more fulfilling in every way.
Yeah, certainly. This is big. And I know we kind of preach about family and relationships and all this all the time, but we really try to present this as many different ways as possible. Really, the same message is to really get you to see that this world is a safe place, as much as sometimes it, can seem a little, unsafe. Choose to see it as a safe place. Choose to live in a world within your mind. Level up to the new earth that's being created. Let go of these old paradigms of hurt, sadness, anger, all of that. Try to release all of that, let go of all of that, and choose to uplift and grab onto this new earth that's being created around us every single day. It will help you to live a much richer life, like you were saying, more fulfilling, and certainly more happier. Yeah.
Yep. So, with that being said, Blueprint Family, does anybody have anything that they want to add, share? They would like to provide any information, topics, anything that you all would like to discuss while we are still here. Thank you
Yeah.
all. Thank everybody for coming out. We really appreciate the support. We do this for you all. Believe it or not, this show is not ours, it's yours. So we
Mhm.
do have time to time people who call in, interact with us, voice, video, and also text type comments, etc.
Yeah.
But we also encourage you all too to leave messages. You can send us DMs, and you may also send us a anonymous message on our website www.wifeconomics.com/submit a question, and there we will read it and then try to prescribe a video for that message the following day. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody got any questions?
Yeah. Thank you all for joining us. It's always nice to try to push out a positive message, especially when, we're bombarded with negative stuff all the time. But, thank you all for joining. We hope that you all have had a happy, blessed, safe, positive day, and have a good one too. A good evening.
Yeah. So with that being said, Blueprint family, thank you all for joining us. Tomorrow for Friday.
Hey.
Yep. Peace.